Hey everyone, I'm so glad to see you all. By the way, where are you watching from? I'm from Texas, America. Write in the comments, I look forward to your comments. It's so exciting to know where you're all from. Raka is a talented graphic designer with an African-American background. From a young age, he developed a deep interest in art and design, beginning with sketches in school notebooks. He spent countless hours at the library, researching legendary artists and diverse design techniques. Raka became fascinated by how art can express stories and experiences, especially for Black communities often overlooked by mainstream narratives. After earning a degree in graphic design from a prestigious university, Raka was determined to turn his passion into a successful career. He worked hard, honing his skills through various small projects, from local event posters to logos for new businesses. With an impressive portfolio, Raka secured clients, including well-known brands and nonprofits focused on empowering Black communities. Despite these achievements, he felt trapped in a cycle of endless rejections. Each time he applied for a job at Innovec, a top design firm known for innovative projects, the response was always the same: "We've chosen another candidate." Frustration began to consume him, leaving traces of despair in his heart. Each rejection felt like a closed door, and as he watched his lighter-skinned colleagues land opportunities he felt he deserved, Raka began questioning himself. Was his work not good enough? Or, more painfully, was racial discrimination playing a part in this? That night, surrounded by his colorful creations, Raka's heart and mind felt dark. He reflected on every detail of his work, especially a recent project highlighting the journey of the Black community in his city, blending elements of history and culture. Despite the praise it received, when he applied for a position at Innovec, it all seemed futile. Each time he opened an email from Innovec, his hope rose, but so did his fear. Maybe this time was the chance he had been waiting for. But the cold lines in the email crushed his heart again. "We appreciate your interest," they wrote, "but we've chosen another candidate." This routine rejection left him feeling empty and questioning whether the design world had a place for him. At a networking event, Raka spoke with Innovec professionals who praised his work, acknowledging the unique perspective he brought. Filled with renewed hope, he imagined working alongside talented people, creating designs that could influence the world. However, another application led to another rejection, breaking his heart once more. Over months, Raka watched his lighter-skinned peers gain opportunities and recognition. He often heard them joke about how they landed these chances, unaware of the pain Raka was experiencing. Maybe if I looked different, he thought, I'd have the same opportunities. This thought haunted him, becoming a constant companion. Feeling increasingly isolated, Raka was the only Black designer at his current job. Although he had good relationships with his colleagues, he often felt disconnected. Discussions about new projects made him feel outside the circle, adding pressure to prove his worth. Each meeting felt like a test he needed to pass just to gain recognition. One evening, Raka saw a poster for an art exhibit featuring works by Black artists. He decided to attend, hoping to find inspiration among others who shared similar struggles. The warm, vibrant atmosphere reminded him he wasn't alone. In the crowd, he met Malik, another graphic designer with a similar journey. They shared stories about the challenges Black designers face in an industry dominated by lighter skin tones. "We have the talent, but sometimes it feels like we have to fight twice as hard to be seen," Malik said. Raka felt a connection, as though they were fighting the same battle. Afterward, Raka and Malik kept in touch, sharing tips, offering support, and planning future collaborations. Although he found a sense of belonging, the sting of rejection lingered. Despite new friendships, the harsh reality remained. While his talent and creativity were recognized in some circles, the broader professional world still seemed unready to accept someone like him. Looking in the mirror, Raka tried to see himself as a winner, not a victim. He reminded himself of his achievements and the people his work had inspired. Yet each rejection felt like a wall between his dreams and reality. Though despair grew, he knew he had to keep fighting. Through stories of others who overcame similar barriers, Raka found inspiration. He began following successful Black artists and designers, determined to be part of a larger narrative. He recalled a quote, "Success is not measured by how quickly we reach it, but by how hard we fight for it." Raka became more active on social media, sharing his work and journey. To his surprise, the online community responded positively, with many sharing similar challenges. Together, they formed an online group to empower one another and amplify voices often overlooked. Raka's nights filled with new activities. He wasn't only working on personal projects but also collaborating with other artists. With Malik and friends from the online group, they planned an art exhibit highlighting the struggles and triumphs of Black communities. Raka felt a new spark, as though there was light at the end of the dark tunnel he'd been walking through. However, each time he applied to Innovec, hope was tinged with deep anxiety. He couldn't ignore the fear of rejection. Each application felt like he was laying his life on the line, and each rejection added to his pain. Despite his progress, the hurt of past rejections couldn't be erased. One night, while working on a design for the upcoming exhibit, a friend called, informing him that Innovec was seeking a graphic designer for a new social campaign. His heart raced, sensing this might be the opportunity he'd waited for. Though skepticism lingered. Are they really interested in me? Or just looking for diversity to look good, he wondered. Deciding to apply, he included his best work and highlighted how his experience in the Black community could bring valuable insights to the project. As he submitted the application, he felt like he was playing a high-stakes game, hoping that this time, his talent would be recognized. He knew that though the world around him was full of challenges, his hope and determination were his strongest weapons. As his hope resurfaced, he faced the reality that his struggle was far from over. Despite the rejections, Raka resolved not to let injustice define him. He wanted to prove that good design isn't just about aesthetics, it's about storytelling, bridging gaps, and celebrating diversity. With newfound determination, Raka decided he wouldn't let rejection stop him. He would keep striving, seeking other opportunities, and hoping that one day he'd be recognized. He was determined to show that true talent knows no color boundaries. In his heart, Raka knew the journey would be tough, but he was ready to fight for his future and for all those who fought alongside him. After submitting his application for a project at Innovec, Raka felt a complex mix of hope and anxiety he couldn't quite explain. Each day he checked his email with anticipation, hoping for a message from the company. At the same time, he tried not to let his hopes crumble if the outcome wasn't what he expected. This feeling had become a familiar ache for him, especially after facing so much rejection in the past. He knew how tough the design world could be, particularly for someone like him who often felt overlooked. To distract himself, Raka threw himself into preparing an art exhibition he had planned with Malik and other new friends. This collective effort was born out of conversations in a local cafe, where they shared frustrations about the lack of representation for Black artists in the art world. They decided to name the exhibition Stories in Color, aiming to show how colors could narrate life stories, hopes, and struggles. This theme resonated deeply with Raka, who believed that art should bridge diverse experiences and create space for sharing. Days were spent tirelessly preparing for the exhibition, selecting a strategic downtown location to draw a wider audience. Raka worked for hours in his studio, pouring ideas into artworks that not only conveyed beauty but also revealed truth. Each night he came home with paint-stained hands but a heart ignited with passion. In the midst of preparations, Raka received news that Innovec would host a presentation event for candidates, inviting a few designers to showcase their ideas for a new social campaign. His heart raced when he received the invitation. It was a golden opportunity, yet tension crept back in. Am I really ready for this? He thought, trying to calm his nerves. After nights of planning and designing, Raka decided to prepare a presentation that reflected the struggles and aspirations of the Black community. He wanted to show how design could uplift marginalized voices and foster awareness. Using a community-centered approach, Raka created a presentation combining powerful visuals with a compelling narrative. He felt this was the moment to voice why Black artists' presence in the industry mattered. When presentation day arrived, Raka felt intense tension. He knew this was his chance to prove himself. Upon arriving at Innovec, the room's atmosphere was highly professional, filled with many unfamiliar faces, along with some he recognized. Among them were peers who had previously rejected him. He tried to push away the anxiety, but a tinge of skepticism slipped into his thoughts. When his turn came, Raka stepped forward, projecting a confidence he had carefully crafted. He began explaining the concept behind his design, passionately describing how he wanted to use art for positive change. He shared statistics on the injustices faced by Black communities and how art could play a vital role in shifting the narrative. He felt the audience's attention, yet when he saw some unresponsive faces, doubts began to cloud his mind. Throughout the presentation, Raka spoke of how his work was inspired by personal experiences and stories from colleagues facing similar struggles with discrimination. He described how many Black designers had to fight harder for recognition, and how crucial it was for them to have a platform for their voices. He believed that if he could touch even one heart in the audience, it would be enough. However, as he observed the panelists' blank expressions as they took notes, Raka's heart felt heavier. After his presentation, Raka received some questions from the panel. Some touched the core issues he wanted to highlight, but others seemed dismissive, as if they didn't fully grasp the depth behind his work. "How can you ensure this design will have an impact?" one panelist asked, face expressionless. Raka paused, feeling the pressure to respond well. "Good design isn't just about aesthetics but also about the message it conveys," he replied. "Design can bridge communication and foster awareness. I believe that art can inspire social change, and I want to contribute to that impact." He felt courage rising within him, yet the pain and doubt lingered. Even so, he refused to let them stifle his spirit. Every word he spoke felt like a step toward breaking down the walls of injustice he'd been up against. Leaving Inovech's building after the presentation, Raka tried not to let his mixed feelings weigh him down. He knew he had given his all, but as he walked away, anxiety haunted his thoughts. Will I be rejected again? He wondered. He didn't want to return to the painful routine of crushed hopes. The days that followed dragged on, every second stretching into hours. Raka tried to focus on the art exhibition, but his mind kept returning to the outcome of his presentation. He felt trapped between optimism and a blanket of pessimism. One evening, as Raka sat in his studio, he received a message from Malik, checking in to make sure he wasn't too overwhelmed, knowing how important their upcoming art show was. They had poured their hearts into it, and Malik was determined to keep Raka's spirits high. When exhibition night arrived, Raka and his team stood in the gallery, waiting for visitors. The atmosphere was charged with energy, yet a certain tension remained within Raka. They presented their works, hoping to touch the hearts of those who came. He looked at his pieces, each detail a reflection of his struggle. As visitors began to arrive, Raka felt a sense of calm. Watching people interact with his work and share stories about how art created connections, he felt inspired. But as he looked into their curious faces, he also realized the many challenges that lay ahead. The exhibition had become more than just an event, it was a statement of their existence and struggle. Raka overheard whispers among the guests, many captivated by the colors and the meaning behind each piece. In the middle of the crowd, Raka spotted a middle-aged man standing silently in front of one of his works, deep in thought. When the man turned, Raka was stunned. It was one of the panelists from his Innovec presentation. The man approached Raka and extended his hand. "I wanted to tell you that your presentation was inspiring," he said. Raka was taken aback, feeling a glimmer of hope. "I'd like to discuss more about your ideas and how we might work together." A surge of positive energy filled him. Despite the tension and doubts, there was potential for positive change. As the exhibition night ended, Raka went home filled with hope. He knew that, despite the obstacles, he wasn't alone in his fight. The community he had built provided the strength and support he needed. With renewed confidence, Raka prepared to face his next challenges. He didn't just want to be recognized as a designer, but as a voice for social change. He knew that a brighter future awaited him, and he wouldn't give up on his dreams. In the days following the exhibition, Raka received news from Innovatech. They invited him for further discussions on a potential collaboration. His heart raced, but this time it was from a resurgence of passion. He was ready to dive deeper into his vision and demonstrate how design could drive social change. The tension he had felt all along began to dissipate. Raka knew he had the power to make a difference, and with his community's support, he felt more prepared than ever. The art exhibition had opened new doors, and he was determined to make the most of this opportunity. With a fresh sense of purpose and resolve, Raka stepped into a future filled with hope and challenges, ready to use his voice to bring positive change to the world. After a successful art exhibition, Raka felt his energy was revitalized. The invitation from Innovatech for further discussions opened up new possibilities that once seemed out of reach. Yet, mixed emotions lingered in his mind. He knew new challenges awaited. And this time they were bigger. Raka didn't just want to be seen as a talented designer, he wanted to be a voice representing the experiences and struggles of the Black community. In the days leading up to the meeting with Innovec, Raka was filled with both excitement and anxiety. He meticulously reviewed every detail of his presentation, pondering each word he'd shared with the panelists. Determined to be better prepared for the next encounter, he thought, "I have to show my sharper, more refined side." Raka started sketching new concepts, aiming to integrate the panel's feedback into his ideas. The night before the meeting, Raka sat in his studio, surrounded by papers and paint, trying to bring his ideas to life. He knew this was his chance to showcase not only his design talent but also his deep understanding of the social issues affecting the Black community. He prepared a new presentation, adding stronger visuals and a more profound narrative. When the meeting day arrived, Raka felt the pressure building. With every step toward the Inovich building, he calmed himself by remembering his exhibition success. "I can do this," he whispered to himself. After checking in and passing security, Raka observed the building's ambience. The meeting room was modern and professional, filled with minimalist designs that enhanced the formal atmosphere. Raka waited, heart racing, observing the serious faces across the table. This was where he wanted to be, a place where ideas were born and transformed into reality. When the same panelists from the exhibition entered the room, Raka felt a bit tense but managed to show a confident smile. The lead panelist, Mr. Adrian, took the central seat and looked at Raka with curiosity. "Welcome, Raka," Mr. Adrian greeted him calmly. "We were impressed by your presentation at the exhibition and would like to discuss some ideas further." Raka nodded, trying to remain composed as he opened his laptop and set up his slides. He could feel the tension in the air but knew he had to overcome it to succeed. Raka began his presentation, explaining the new concepts he'd developed and how he wanted to use design to raise awareness about social issues facing the Black community. He emphasized that art wasn't merely aesthetic but a medium for education and inspiration. "Art can be a tool for fostering meaningful conversations," he said, infusing each word with conviction. As he spoke, Raka observed the panelists' reactions. Some looked intrigued, while others seemed skeptical. When he reached the part about design's potential for social impact, he felt a surge of energy. He knew what he was saying mattered, and he hoped they felt the same. "Do you have experience with similar projects?" Mr. Adrian asked. "How can you ensure your designs work in a broader context?" Raka saw this as his chance to explain the importance of community collaboration. He described the recent art exhibition he had organized, which featured voices from diverse backgrounds. "It's essential to listen and collaborate with the community," Raka explained. "I believe that good design stems from dialogue. When we share our stories, we create more meaningful work." He felt a renewed drive as he shared his perspective. This discussion was more than a presentation, it was an opportunity to show his commitment to collaboration. After the presentation, Mr. Adrian gave positive feedback. "We're very impressed with your dedication. However, we also need to ensure the project's viability. We'd like you to work with our team to develop these ideas further." Raka's heart raced. This was a big step forward and he couldn't help but smile. But he also knew the path to success wouldn't be easy. The following weeks were filled with intense work. Raka started collaborating with Inovech's team, meeting other designers and project managers. He was excited but also anxious, working alongside people with much more experience. Yet, he was determined to prove he could add real value. In team meetings, Raka quickly noticed differing perspectives. He often found his ideas dismissed without much explanation, which stirred frustration and self-doubt. "Don't they see the potential in my ideas?" he wondered, questioning why his voice seemed overlooked. Whenever Raka tried sharing his thoughts, he sensed skeptical glances from some colleagues. Despite trying to stay positive, the sting of rejection haunted him. Determined, Raka focused on the tasks at hand. He poured his energy and creativity into the project, finding ways to integrate his vision with the team's preferred approach. He began communicating more actively, using his design skills to craft more engaging and persuasive presentations. He didn't want to give up, he wanted to show he could compete and bring genuine value. Over those weeks, Raka found small moments to shine. When he produced a compelling graphic design, the team took notice. A few colleagues began offering praise, fueling him to keep going. Raka grew more confident, but the fear of rejection still loomed in his mind. He knew he had a long way to go. One evening, after a long day at Inovich, Raka returned to his studio. Sitting before a canvas, he sought to express his feelings through color and shape. Painting became not just an escape, but a means of reflecting on the tension he felt at work. In this creative process, he found calm and renewed strength, helping him prepare for the challenges ahead. Returning to Inovech, Raka felt refreshed and ready. He spent time connecting with team members, learning from their experiences and how they achieved success. He realized that each person's journey was unique, inspiring him to contextualize his own voice within a larger framework. He continued striving to find his place in the industry, not just for himself but for those following in his footsteps. Amid the tension and challenges, Raka also felt compelled to engage more deeply with his community. He began dedicating time to a local arts organization focused on empowering Black artists. Each time he participated in community events, he felt renewed motivation. Rocca believed that achieving his own success meant helping others along the way, too. He organized art workshops for youth in his community, wanting to give them a space to express themselves through art and find their voices. Each session brought him joy and fulfillment. Seeing their enthusiasm and talent rekindled his self-confidence. He started understanding that his struggles were not just his own, but a path to empower others. Days passed, and Rocca began seeing the results of his hard work and dedication. Team meetings at Innovich became more open, and his ideas gained more attention. Although there were still challenges, Rocca felt more equipped to face them. He worked tirelessly to become not only a designer but an agent of change. One evening after an inspiring meeting, Rocca received a call from a friend who had heard about his project's progress at Innovatech. His friend Aji was thrilled. "Rocca, I just heard from people in the art community. They say your project is catching the eye of major companies." Rocca was surprised. "What? Really?" he asked excitedly. "Yes, they're saying the innovation you've proposed is captivating and could attract investors." The news fueled Rocca's motivation. He knew his hard work at Innovic was starting to pay off. Although more challenges lay ahead, Rocca believed this was a step in the right direction. He was determined to continue his journey, both at work and in his community. Deep down, he understood that the path to success would never be easy. But with each small step, he was moving closer to achieving his dreams and goals. In the face of pressure and obstacles, Rocca felt stronger than ever. He knew he wasn't just a designer, he was a voice for change in his industry. He believed that everyone, regardless of background, had the potential to lead and inspire positive change. Rocca prepared to keep moving forward, ready to face any obstacles ahead, committed to being part of a larger transformation. A week after the good news about his project at Innovit, Rocca found himself in a world of new hope. Excitement over the opportunities ahead filled him, but he also realized that fresh challenges awaited him. Even though his ideas were gaining attention, doubt and uncertainty shadowed his every step. At the office, Rocca made an effort to interact more with his team, especially with those who had initially been skeptical of his ideas. He understood the need to build a collaborative atmosphere to get the support he needed for the project. The small praises from colleagues for his designs were encouraging, but he knew that this was only the beginning. However, not everyone welcomed the changes he brought. Some senior members appeared threatened by his presence, questioning if a black designer could truly bring innovative ideas into an industry dominated by different backgrounds. Rocca knew he'd have to work even harder to prove he was equally capable. During a team meeting to discuss project direction, Rocca suggested some interactive design elements to engage the audience more deeply. "I think we can push for a more immersive design," he said enthusiastically. "But Andy," a senior colleague responded skeptically, "that idea seems too risky. We need to stick to what's tried and true," he said dismissively. The critique frustrated Rocca, though he tried not to show it. Deep down, he wanted to explain further, but he worried it might only escalate the tension. He took a deep breath and replied, "I understand the comfort in conventional approaches, but we also need to be forward-thinking. Design should evolve with the times and engage our audience actively." The meeting continued with a tense atmosphere, and Rocca felt the weight of resistance on his shoulders. As he left, he began to wonder, is this even worth it still? His desire to drive positive change fueled his resolve. In the midst of this confusion, Rocca reached out to Maya, a junior designer who shared his interest in social issues. Together, they discussed the power of design as a tool for change and inspiration. "Sometimes we need to push against the current," Rocca said, recalling his art exhibition experience. Maya agreed, and they started planning a bold presentation for Innovatech. Working together, they compiled data and crafted a stronger presentation to win over the team. Yet as they prepared, tensions within the team continued to rise. Andy consistently resisted their ideas, making the situation harder. Rocca felt burdened, responsible not just for his ideas but for the representation of his community. He knew he had to find a way to overcome the skepticism and doubt surrounding him. Outside of work, Rocca stayed involved in his community, organizing art events and discussions for young people to express themselves. Seeing the joy on their faces when they created art revitalized him. He realized that his challenges at Innovich were just one part of his journey toward making a larger impact. Finally, on presentation day, Rocca and Maya stood before the team, sharing a video about how design could influence perceptions and create social impact. They passionately explained how each design element could build a deeper connection with the audience. But as they wrapped up, Rocca sensed the lingering tension in the room. Once again, and I voiced his disagreement, saying, "This might be interesting, but will it actually sell our concept? We need to stick to what has always worked." Disappointment welled up inside Raka, but he refused to give in. "If we keep playing it safe, we'll fall behind. We need to be bold to attract a broader audience," he responded. The discussion grew heated, but Raka took a deep breath and continued. "If we don't push for innovation, we risk becoming irrelevant. Let's show that our designs can make an impact, not just be another product." All eyes were on him, and he felt a surge of courage. Some team members whispered among themselves, and Raka hoped they felt his conviction. Finally, Mr. Adrian, the lead manager, spoke up. "Raka may have a point. Let's give this new approach some consideration. We'll discuss how we can blend these fresh ideas with our existing strategies." A spark of hope returned to Raka. The discussion continued, and after several hours they settled on a plan that combined elements from both traditional and innovative approaches. It was a small step, but Raka knew that every step toward recognition was a victory. After the meeting, Raka and Maya felt relieved and proud. They had secured the support they needed, and despite the challenges ahead, they felt more prepared than ever. Raka thanked Maya for her support, and they promised to keep working toward inspiring design. But as Raka returned home, thoughts of the future lingered. He knew the battle against stereotypes and doubts was far from over. Still, he felt stronger and more confident than ever. He made a vow to keep fighting, not just for himself, but for everyone who felt marginalized. He believed he could be a bridge between his community and the larger industry. In the coming weeks, Raka noticed small shifts in team dynamics. Meetings became more inclusive, and more team members began sharing new ideas. Even though not everyone agreed, Raka sensed that his voice was finally being heard. He felt the positive impact of his determination to speak up and fight for his vision. Outside of work, Raka continued to engage with his community, organizing art events that reinforced his commitment to using design as a force for change. He felt grateful for the support from those who understood his struggles. Each art session reminded him that his fight wasn't just for personal recognition, but for a brighter future for those who would come after him. As he looked ahead, Raka realized that this journey was more than reaching a destination. It was about laying the foundation for broader change. With every step, he grew closer to realizing his vision, and with every challenge, he became more certain that he was part of something greater than himself. Time passed, and Raka felt a significant change within himself and his workplace. After the emotional presentation and heated debates, the ideas he and Maya had proposed began to gain recognition. Innovate decided to implement some of the bolder design elements they suggested, marking the first step toward broader changes in the company. Raka felt proud to contribute to a project that championed not only innovation but also inclusivity and diversity. More people started to recognize Raka's contributions, and his presence in the team was no longer met with skepticism but with respect. Raka began to receive invitations to speak at various events and seminars about how design could create social impact. While he felt honored, he also felt a greater responsibility. He knew each opportunity was not just for him but for everyone out there who felt marginalized. One day, Raka was invited to be the keynote speaker at the annual design conference in the city. He was thrilled yet nervous. This was his chance to share his journey and inspire the next generation. He carefully prepared, crafting words that would recount his struggles and explain the importance of diversity in the design industry. When the day arrived, Raka stood on stage, gazing out at the crowd of faces waiting for him. He took a deep breath and began, "Today I stand here as a Black designer, not just to talk about design, but to share a struggle for recognition, for respect, and for understanding that we all have the power to make a difference. Every idea you have, every design you create, it can make an impact not only on products but on society." He went on, sharing his experiences at Innovate, how he had fought against stereotypes and doubt. Raka spoke about his friendship with Maya and how their collaboration created something bigger than just design. He talked about the strength of community and how they could support each other in their journeys. As he spoke, Raka felt the positive energy in the room. He saw several attendees nodding in agreement, and some even began recording with their phones. When he finished, the room erupted in applause and Raka was moved. He realized that his voice was being heard and that his story had inspired others. From that moment on, Raka's career flourished. He was recognized as a leader in the design industry, invited to speak at conferences, and involved in major projects promoting diversity. Raka became not only a respected designer but also an advocate for positive change within the industry. He felt like more than just an individual, he was a voice for many who didn't have the chance to be heard. In the following months, Rocca continued to grow and use his experiences to support young people in his community. He held design workshops for teenagers, giving them the skills and knowledge needed to pursue careers in design. He wanted to ensure they didn't face the same obstacles he had. At Innovec, Rocca also began to see the impact of the changes he and his team had implemented. Diversity and inclusion became part of the company culture, and teams collaborated more closely to create better innovation. Rocca felt deeply satisfied when he saw people from all backgrounds given the chance to shine. Despite his many achievements, Rocca never forgot his roots. He stayed connected to his community, continuously striving to create more opportunities for others. In his heart, Rocca felt that his fight wasn't over. He knew there was still much to be done to ensure all voices were heard and acknowledged. One evening, Rocca sat in his design studio, reflecting on all he had accomplished. He looked out the window at the bright stars. In his heart, he felt gratitude for the journey he had traveled. He knew the road hadn't always been easy, but each challenge had shaped him into a stronger person. With renewed determination, Rocca began to write a book about his experiences, a book that would not only tell his story but also serve as a guide for the next generation. He wanted to share not only his successes but also the challenges he faced, and how everyone could find the strength within themselves to make a difference. Rocca hoped his book would inspire others not only to dream big but to fight for those dreams. He believed everyone, regardless of their background, had the potential to be a leader and change the world. With new hope and enthusiasm, Rocca prepared to move forward, ready to face new challenges and make an even greater impact. As the night drew to a close, with a full heart and an inspired mind, Rocca closed his notebook. He knew every step he took was part of a larger journey, and he felt motivated to keep moving forward, carrying the voices and stories of those often overlooked. He was Rocca, a Black designer who fought not just for personal success but to create a brighter future for everyone.